when I'm walking past the mirror. Don't stress through the night at a time in my life. Ain't worried about if you feel it. Got my head on straight, I got my vibe right. I ain't gonna let you kill it. See, I won't change my life just fine.
Hello, and welcome to A Seat at the Table. I'm Christine White. Bougie, ratchet, ghetto are just a few of the labels that society places on black women.
I'm Deneen Milner, and if you are confused by those words, just stay with us. We'll explain to both you at home and those with us in the studio.
And I'm Monica Pearson. So what's wrong with loving your blackness, being outspoken, having black girl swag? What is so wrong with the way God made us?
No, not the average black girl, because the pigment in my skin is just a shade lighter than that black girl over there. You know the black girl over there, the black girl with the nappy hair, the black girls whose elbows can't skip a day without lotion, whose hearts and heads are filled up with self-hate and bottled up emotion. The cocoa brown girls who have to face society every day and be tough, because no matter how good they straighten their hair, their good is still not good enough. Oh, see, luckily for me, I don't fall in that category. See, they say I'm not the average black girl because I speak with so much class, and I don't have too much, but just enough ass, and not too much, but just enough pizzazz. You know, just a little bit of attitude, because you don't want to come off as one of those average black girls and come off as rude. You know, popping their gum and shaking their neck. Yeah, because those black girls get, like, no respect.
Well,
Black girls getting respect, that's an issue. There's a problem with the way that society portrays black women and the way that we're treated in the world.
there's studies out there talking about how when black girls answer back to the teacher with a little bit of passion, or they have a little attitude because you've said something to them and you act in a certain way and a teacher doesn't really understand, well, that's just her personality and not necessarily a sign of disrespect. She's just showing her emotions and her passion like someone else might show it in a different way, but it's still emotion and passion. They get into serious trouble for it, and the discipline rates for black girls in schools are astronomical. We talk about black boys and how they get in trouble in school, but we don't talk about the punitive damages that black girls face for being black girls.
I grew up in an era where my mother taught me to walk on both sides, in both lanes. I knew what to do to get the job, to get the grades, because being in an integrated school system and in early integration, a black girl had to be a certain way. It's almost like she was a black girl, but really acting like a white girl in order to get what she needed. But then when she came home, it was being able to throw that persona off and be the person you were, the black girl you were. But you had to be almost schizophrenic in order to get the job, to get the education, to get what you needed in order to be, quote, middle class. What I think is happening with our girls now, because they've been raised by mothers like us, is that they've always been outspoken because their mothers are outspoken. And because they've grown up in an integrated society, they are no longer mealy-mouthed. They speak what's on their mind.
That's right.
And they also believe in who they are. They are strong because we raised them that way. We have told them, don't let anyone define you. You know who you are. But you're right. That's what gets them into trouble. So it's not our kids who need to change, it's the people around them who need to appreciate who we are.
But what are we talking about here? This culture that we like to call black culture, and now when you act the way you would act in your community, but you go out into a majority white world, you're looked down upon. And that's by design, because the whole design was to make black people feel inferior. So everything about being black then became inferior. The way that black women talk, the dialect that we use. In the workplace, in corporate America, we were told that we're not legitimate. And it's not because it was different, it was because it benefits white society for black people to be subjugated.
Right,
So
absolutely.
we have to stop with the looking down on each other, black women. We have to stop sort of feeding into that idea. My grandmother would pop me in the mouth if I used language that wasn't correct English, right? And what she was beating out of me was saying that what you've gotten at home, what you get in your community is not good enough. And we got to stop that. I mean, I love my grandmother. She was trying to protect me, and I get it. But we need to understand that it was a protective mechanism, and it's not necessarily the truth.
Right.
Well, I don't necessarily want someone speaking to me in incorrect grammar. I'm going to be
When
really
you go to Jamaica,
upfront.
though, when you go to Jamaica, it's not incorrect. It's based on what is used.
I
in
want
that
my subject and
space.
verb to be where they're supposed to be.
I want
okay?
them to agree.
And I really think, I hear what you're saying, but we're not in Jamaica, we're here. And the reality is very simple. First of all, they look at us, and that is how they first determined whether or not you are someone I want to deal with. And that means, are you middle class? Are you lower class? And as educated as you are, a lawyer, what's the reaction you think most white people have to you when they see you on the street?
Let me tell you, I don't know, but, and I'm gonna be as righteous as I possibly can just to put a little extra on it. I don't care what they think. I'm done defining myself by what white people think. I'm done with that. So we can sit here and say that's not what they hear when they see you, or white people expect you to be a certain kind of way. But outside of being living through a strategy, like, I will take it on as a strategy to maybe make more money, to advance my career, but I'm not going to define it as wrong. That's
But
all
how
I'm
do you
saying.
react when black women look at you and say,
When black women say to me?
Well,
Yeah,
here's
but-
the crazy part is that
Yeah.
if I'm standing, depending on who I'm standing in front of, they make the decision on what they think I am. So I could be standing in front of black people, and black people may think that I'm bougie. Hard to believe, but there are moments when folks think that Deneen is a little bougie, which I think is
Maybe.
crazy.
well, how do
because-
you define bougie?
I've been told so.
No,
Lord,
seriously.
this is a big issue. I'm gonna just tell
No,
you.
because you
I
gotta
mean,
define it. But
yeah,
what is
it's
bougie?
different for
Fluent.
everybody, but
I'm fluent in bougie.
bougie, bougie, when it has a negative connotation, is when you behave as if the people that you're talking to are not as good as you.
Right.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Like
They're
you are
beneath you.
better than other people. I have been called bougie my entire life.
Yep.
And I never understood why it was a bad thing to speak the King's English. I never understood why it was a bad thing to hold my head high. I never understood why it was a bad thing to advocate for myself. But when you are in a community where people are not given opportunity, where people are marginalized, and there's a lack of confidence, people who have confidence look like they think they're better.
Right.
And so I think that we have a lot of these issues in the black community where we are fighting against each other because we have so much. I mean, it's intentional division. You know, we have been taught that in order to succeed, you have to compete with the next black person. Therefore, you have to make the next black person not as good as you. So I mean, it's a
But then go.
touchy situation.
But then if I go and stand in front of white folks, or when I used to work in an office with a predominantly white, workforce, then I'm considered ghetto and ratchet. And I'm like, that is so not the way that I was raised. I don't know where you're getting that from. And that's when the bougie comes out. That's when I get real fluent.
You got to help me here. I'm still trying to define the word ratchet. How do you define ratchet? And I know I'm not the only person in this room. What is ratchet?
Okay, so you saw Girls Trip, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you remember the character that Tiffany Haddish played?
Yes.
She was the wild one who walks and is like, ow! That's
Wild.
ratchet as hell. Like you walk in and you fill the entire room with all kinds of color and language and body movement.
My
and
mother
you
would just call
really-
that being loud.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's and to us that's normal, right?
Right.
But then for other people, there's they've colored it with a derogatory, stereotypical name, ratchet.
And it's overlaid with like a certain type of music that you listen to, a certain type of way you dance, a certain type of way you use the English language, how much you cuss, how much you, how vulgar your language is necessarily, how sexual your language is. All of that can interplay into this definition of ratchet. But ratchet is just, it's a new cultural term that we use to describe music and other displays of sort of Black community
That, on
identity.
a Saturday night with my mom and her aunties was just them being mom and my aunties.
But
it
to
wasn't
somebody else, it would have been ratchet.
to somebody else today with that, with that moniker, that's what it is. But to me, that was just them having a good time on a Saturday night.
So what do you think you're stereotyped as? You said just a moment ago, people sometimes think you're ratchet, but
It really just depends on who I'm standing in front of. So if I'm standing in front of some Black folks and I'm talking like this, then I'm bougie. If I'm standing in front of white folks, I'm putting on airs when I'm talking this way. But if I decide today, I don't feel like messing with none of y'all, and I'm gonna stand here and I'm gonna recite Jay-Z lyrics, and I'm gonna be at my desk like this, and then I'm ghetto or ratchet. But I'm Deneen.
So,
doggone it.
Monica, what's your stereotype?
my stereotype, and because, having been on television for 37 years, my stereotype is always people see me as upper middle class, bougie, and then when I tell them I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college, only the second person in my family to graduate from high school, then all of a sudden it changes. Then it's like, well, how
gave you
did you
some
get
street
to where
cred.
you are? No, then it becomes, well, how did you get to where you are? And then all of a sudden it moves you into poor little Black girl, which is a
Okay.
whole nother
Okay.
area. So I'm always careful about who I give my background information to. Because people can switch like that.
Right.
Other stereotype, they just always assume you're a Democrat if you're reading a story, or they assume you're a Republican if
Right.
you're reading a story, that you have a view that they don't appreciate. But most often people assume that I came from a silver-spooned family because I speak well and dress a certain way.
Right.
I can tell you when I changed my hair from straight to natural, the audience went crazy, and it was mostly Black women who told me I needed to go do something to my hair. White people thought it was cute, and except for a few who told me to go back to Africa, but they didn't like me anyway.
Right.
But there were those who really said, I'm so glad you're embracing who you are.
Listen,
Black women rode me out on a
I
rail.
promise you, coming from a media background in New York, the only people who ever gave me a hard time about my afro were Black women. That was it.
We've got to take a quick break, but if you want to know what a professional Black girl is, stick around because we'll be joined by the professional Black girl in just a minute. We'll be right back.
When I say I'm a professional Black girl, I'm not identifying as someone who's well accomplished in her job, her career, or her profession, though I am, be clear. When I say I'm a professional Black girl, I'm announcing myself as someone who takes being a Black girl very seriously, like to professional levels. So whatever it means to be a Black girl, I'm that.
It looks like me. It looks like you. It looks like Taraji at the awards jumping up to hug Viola Davis. It looks like Mary and Taraji and Carrie in that Apple commercial. It looks like me rolling up to a room full of people in Berlin to speak with my bamboo earrings on.
Welcome back to A Seat at the Table. I'm so excited to welcome my girl, Dr. Yaba Blay, to a seat at our table. She's a professor, an author, and the producer of the popular web series, Professional Black Girl. I gotta give you that. Hey, babe.
Well, I've got to ask, what is a professional Black girl? Define it for me, please, Dr. Blay.
So simply put, a professional Black girl is a Black woman, a Black girl who is committed to being a Black woman or a Black girl. Like, she's unapologetic about her Blackness and her girlness, and she shows up in a way and performs her Blackness and her girlness in a way that connects her to other Black women and girls. I teach at an HBCU, and what I've noticed for a lot of our girls is that a lot of other administrators and professors and Black women in their lives tend to train them away from themselves, thinking they're helping them to be professional. And so for me, as a Black woman, single mother, single grandmother, PhD, I want to be an example to them that you can be whoever you say you are and still be professional. So using professional in this term, professional Black girl, is a way of turning that meaning on its head and claiming it for ourselves.
I want to know how
Right.
you came into being you.
my parents are from Ghana, so they're like, are you smarter than them? Well, that's all that matters, right? But for me, smart was easy. I wanted to be pretty.
Yeah.
I wanted to be accepted. And I didn't have anyone around me necessarily saying, you're pretty. I mean, your parents tell you, but they're supposed to tell you, right?
Yeah. Right.
But I remember a family friend, Auntie Janet, who was an African-American woman from Harlem, New York, and she was of lighter complexion, and I just remember being little, and every time she would see me, she would make this huge fuss, and she would like run across the room and grab my face and be like, okay, tell me your secrets. What do you use? And I'm like, I don't know, it's Vaseline, you know? But she made me feel, and I remember just anticipating I'm gonna see Auntie Janet because she made me feel so beautiful, and it felt authentic, you know? And so now being a mother of a Black girl and a grandmother of a Black girl, like, I'm trying to do for them what someone did for me, you know? And I think it's parenting is the hardest job, right?
Yeah.
That we'll ever have, and no one really teaches you how to be a parent. And so I think it absolutely does take a village, but everybody in the village ain't right. So
Preach.
we have to be intentional about who we allow, right, around our children and what messaging they get. So for me, it's something as simple as I wasn't allowed to play with white babies.
Yes.
My daughter's wasn't allowed to play with white baby dolls, and neither is my grandbaby. And funny story, recently, Christmas, a distant family member wanted to get her a baby doll for Christmas and bought her Baby Alive. And apparently, you know, last minute Christmas shopping, they ran out of the black one. So she thought she was gonna do one better and get the Hispanic one. And my grandbaby with her little braids and beads on the end saw that baby and was like, but I'm a Black girl.
Yes.
And I was
See,
like,
this is what I love about this. And I also have to say that your work has been freeing. And I think that I would have expected to have been more accepting of Black women in all of its incredible forms and manifestations. Watching your web series showed me that I was still holding on to some of those stereotypes that my grandmother, who I said before, was trying to protect me and believed that assimilation was the best way for my success and not authenticity. And the idea that we're going to choose authenticity and force people to give us the success that we earn without having to assimilate is magical.
yeah, or it could be as simple as not thinking about those people. Like, we spend so much time talking about they and they think and what they gonna do. Who are they? What about you, you know? And so this notion of like seeking affirmation from other people is one thing. Like, how beautiful is it to affirm yourself? And for me, like, I think that flipping moment is experiencing that uptick that we had in the assassination of Black people publicly in the streets. And I'm very much thinking of the case of Trayvon Martin, and I remember, and I don't know if Geraldo said the exact words or if he implied it, but in so many words he said that, you know, well, maybe if he wasn't wearing the hoodie.
Right.
I remember that.
And in that moment, it was just very clear to me, it's like, it wouldn't matter what we do. It don't matter how you wear your hair, how you dress, you know, how you speak, where you went to school. They see your Black skin, and that's it.
Right.
You don't even have to open your mouth.
Right.
You know, so for me, it's like, it's not gonna save you. So you might as well be free.
Right. Be
Don't
free.
you find it fascinating right now, at least I do, when I see a young white girl with dreadlocks, or when you see a young white kid trying to be Black, and you wonder, what is really going on here?
I'm not fascinated by that.
Because I wonder how their parents are reacting. But seriously, there is this whole culture now of white kids trying to be like Black kids.
Right.
Here's my issue with it. I can't stand it when I spent a whole lifetime trying to appreciate and love so many things about me that I was taught to hate at every turn, on radio, on television, in movies, in magazines. Don't care for your dark skin. Your big butt and your hips are never gonna fit into these jeans, so you won't be cool because you can't fit Jordache jeans. Nobody gets to wear their hair like that. It needs to be straight and permed or whatever it is. And then to have some white woman come over and perform or think that she can just put on butt implants or pop some cornrows in her hair and some big chunky earrings
And
think
blows up
that
her
lips and make that seem like now she's all of a sudden cool and hip because she's looking like me and performing me, I cannot take it.
Yeah.
Because everything that I went through to finally get to the place where I can look myself in the mirror and say, I'm perfect exactly the way that I am, to have someone come along and not have to go through what it took for me to get there and then just put it on and take it off tomorrow.
But that's the
No,
difference
that's a
between
problem.
appreciation and appropriation. That's appropriation because it's not
I
appreciating.
don't see anybody appreciate. If you're rocking cornrows and putting butt implants in your behind, I'm sorry. That doesn't
Right.
feel like appreciation at
No,
all.
no, no, no.
I mean, but it's what-
appreciation is understanding what you went through and what you had to go through to get to a place where black is beautiful for you, and being a professional black girl is natural and authentic, and you don't have to try.
I was just going to say, I think it's what Greg Tate refers to as everything but the burden. You know, we have,
Right.
we've always been mainstream culture. You know, they've not put our face to it, but we've always contributed to culture. We just haven't gotten our credit. And so for me, like, I felt you was feeling some type of way.
Listen, you want to get me to
About
get the
it.
shape.
But like when we get to the place where like we appreciate all of who we are, all of who we are, genuinely, you can look at Kim Kardashian and laugh like that's cute for you. You tried it. You know what I mean? Like, do what you do, boo. That's cute for you. But for me, so part of the intention with Professional Black Girl is to say our pride should not be reactionary.
Oh, I
We
like
get in
that.
the front end of it and say, this is who we are, this is how we do. You're going to give us some respect. So no, you don't get to call it boxer braids because we've been calling it cornrows for centuries.
Right.
Right.
You know? And so that we claim it, we trademark it, as it were, you know? And don't feel shame about it, because that's the thing. We spend a lot of time, I think at least, my experience of social media's appreciation of Black Girl Magic is elitist in some ways, that we have to be the young sister who gets accepted to every Ivy League school for folks to want to interview her and celebrate her. But where's the sister who got accepted to every HBCU?
Right.
Okay, so now you've moved
Right.
us into where I want to go. Let's talk about Black Girl Magic. You're right. We hear about the girls getting into this school. Why don't we celebrate the HBCUs? But more importantly, how do we define Black Girl Magic? Michelle Obama has it. Is it an it thing?
Every black girl has black girl magic. I mean, it's innate in who she is. And I think that we're calling it out, and we find opportunities to call it out. But just like your Aunt Janet would come and shower you with affection and love, all the affection and love you deserved, and you know, more. Calling out black girl magic is just calling out what all black girls have. It's just recognizing it. It's not something that you have to work hard to get or you have to do something to have. Like, every black girl is magical.
Okay, Dr. Blake, how do you define it?
I just think that, like, we can all find our lane, we can all find the thing that is magical about us, but as a whole, particularly in this moment, we're seeing black girls winning all over the place.
Right.
You got Ava DuVernay, you got Issa Rae, you have Marley Diaz, y'all got a black mayor.
Right.
Yes, a black female mayor.
Keisha.
Her name is Keisha.
Yes.
Her name is Keisha.
Right, absolutely.
And Keisha's not out there changing her name to Kay.
Right.
What is her name? Lance Bottoms?
Keisha Lance
So
Bottoms.
it's not Kay Lance Bottoms. She wants you to hear Keisha.
Like, my
Right.
name is Keisha,
Keisha.
be clear.
You
And that's
know?
what I love about us. To me, Black Girl Magic, and I feel like Black Girl Magic has become such a cliche at this point. We've said it so much. I prefer Professional Black Girl.
Okay.
Because I feel like, that's encouraging us to be exactly who we are, and I cannot say it enough. How important it was for me to send my black daughter off to Yale and encourage her to be exactly who she is in every manifestation that is, depending on what she feels like when she wakes up in the morning.
Right.
That to me is strength. It's not magical, that's her. And if you can be yourself, if I get to walk out of this room and be fully, authentically Deneen and not care what you have to say about it,
Right.
then I win.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing, your daughter has supported Yale to help her be her Black professional self,
Absolutely.
which is also different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it's also important to note that this notion of being yourself is to understand that human beings are dynamic, and so we have multiple selves. And I think if there is something magical about Black folks, is that code switch is real.
Right.
You know, and that
Right.
that able to be flexible and fluid and be a different articulation or manifestation of yourself in a different environment doesn't make you fake. It doesn't mean you're performing. It means you are.
Right.
Right.
You're getting in. You're
Nimble, yes.
dancing. You know.
Right.
You're getting.
See, everything old is new again. Code switching. Dr. Yava Blake, thank you so much for being here with us and breaking it down for all of us. The audience, you all were absolutely wonderful, and our viewers at home.
We have to go, but the conversation doesn't end here.
Share your thoughts with us on social media.
And we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at ASATT TV.
Thanks for joining us for a seat at the table. And in the words of Shirley Chisholm, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair.